We have in our midst, well, a distinguished personality, the chairman of the Governors Forum for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. All right. A brilliant strategist, and we can't go into reel out all his qualifications, but he's also, first of all, the executive governor of Ekiti State. So let's welcome up to the podium the chairman of the Governors Forum for Nigeria, Governor Fayemi. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. All right, so we've come to the interactive session part where we said we'll begin to engage power holders in the country. You're welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Pastor Poju.
All right, sir. Okay. First thing I'm sure Nigerians will want to know before we get into the things. You're the chairman of Governors Forum, so that gives you a great measure of influence in this country. The first thing on the minds of people is the issue of security. They believe, or people have this perception, that the security architecture of this country is collapsing. And that, just like we heard in the afternoon, a lot of deaths are occurring. So I want to know, what is the government doing about this? What are the steps that are being taken to foster all these things?
Thank you, Pastor Poju. Thank you for inviting me to platform to engage with our people. Governors are equally agitated by the security situation in the country. Don't forget, they are on the front line, and in their states, they face daily the impact of this insecurity on the lives of their people. So, what are we doing? We're elected primarily to uphold Section 14(2)(b) of the Constitution, which talks primarily about security and welfare of the citizens. So there is no governor. I'm not going to go into partisan rantings like my brother Osita just did. There is no governor that I know in Nigeria that is not committed to protecting the citizens that live under his care. However, there are both constitutional limitations and practical challenges. The constitutional limitations relate to what exactly does it mean to be a chief security officer in the state. And theoretically, you are in charge of your state. You can engage with the security chiefs, the brigade commander, the commissioner of police, the NDLEA commander, all the entire gamut of the security operation. What would probably not surprise you, because you've had this before now, is that sometimes that your commissioner of police may not necessarily take your directive into account until he has cleared it with higher authority.
So you're saying that the governors cannot secure their states?
Well, I'm saying that the governors can secure their states. You have to look at a range of means to secure your state, beyond just depending on the federally controlled policing arrangement. And coming down to brass tacks, there is no federation that I know in the world that actually has a unitary police system, which is really the broader topic you want us to discuss here this afternoon, devolution. No single federation that has a unitary police system. Australia, Canada, United States, India, none of them. They all have devolved policing arrangements. Sometimes right down to the campus police, university police in some countries. But at least, generally speaking, down to the local community county police. And that's what we used to have in this country. The excuse you would get from proponents of federal unitary police structure is that, oh, those governors cannot be trusted. If you put these powers in their hands, they're going to use it to intimidate the opposition. They're going to use it to harass the opposition. Absolute balderdash. I am a governor. I have been harassed by federal police as a governor. Osita knows what I'm talking about. In my election in 2014, I was harassed by a commissioner of police and a federal policing structure that I'm supposed to give directive to as a sitting governor. So yes, that can happen. People can misuse any powers given to them. However, that is also why you have mediating mechanisms. In Nigeria today, governors have consistently argued that you have something in the Constitution of Nigeria known as the Police Council. Most people never know anything about the Police Council, which is like the National Judicial Council. The Police Council has as its chair the President. But all the 36 governors are members of the Police Council, with the IG and the chairman of the Police Service Commission. But you know what? Today, the Police Council only functions as a ratifying authority for the new Inspector General. But the only time the meeting gets called is when we want to confirm somebody. Okay, now we have an acting. So very soon, I'm sure we will have a meeting of the Police Council because there's an acting IG in office. Yet, the Police Council can play the role of the police authority in the United Kingdom by ensuring that whatever excesses, whatever issues that concern police and policing, particularly in relation to its accountability, can be handled by that body. Just like my brother Olisa Isaiah, the National Judicial Council handles matters of discipline, handles matters of promotion, appointment. When the Judicial Commission has done its work, they pass it to the NJC. So, yes, anybody can abuse power and authority, but that cannot be a justification or an excuse for continuing with this inefficient and ineffective security architecture that we have in the country. So, is devolution the solution? Yes and no. If you do not address the structure, you cannot also address the personalities operating the structures, because it's systemic. Once you address the way the structure functions, you will see that there is a self-eliminating mechanism in the structure that will not allow people, charlatans and all manner of people who would not let the system be accountable to get into the system. Some of them will still escape through. They will get into the system. But the mechanism would deal with them because you've addressed the systemic challenges to it. So I'm not going to say that it's a one-size-fits-all situation in which you just devolve and everything shall follow. No. But if we do not devolve powers, responsibilities, and resources to lower levels, subnational levels, I think we're going to continue to just muddle through at best, but we will collapse under the weight of our contradictions at worst. Thank you.
All right, I want to ask you this. Well, it's a this. Despite the calls for restructuring of the country, there is a school of thought that believes that this is not the solution to our problems because the same problems manifesting at national level, e.g. ethnicity, lopsided appointments, security, also happens at state and local government levels. So what's your opinion on this?
Absolutely. I just said it. You can devolve responsibility, but you can also devolve corruption. The difference between dealing with corruption at a level that is much closer to the citizen is that they can hold your feet to fire more if the consciousness level is raised. Pastor, I was once a federal minister. Osita was a federal minister. No. In his party, he was a federal minister, I was a federal minister. He would confirm to you. The truth of the matter is, when you are there, you are almost totally disconnected from what is happening at the local level. It is why? Because it is power without responsibility. That's what it is. Pardon me? Why don't you decline the job? Well,
this has become town hall.
No. You see, Pastor.
This is town hall now.
Only Sanai will not get into an engagement.
No, he has a question for you because
we come from the same tradition.
Yes, I know, but we must give you the opportunity to defend yourself because you defend the institution you represent. Because while you are engaged, I'm sure you didn't watch it. He raised up an issue, but we'll get to it.
He's raised up a fundamental issue.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you cannot be effective as a minister of the Federal Republic. I'm saying that you have enormous powers that you are not necessarily accountable for. You could be accountable for it, but that would depend on self-commitment to accountability. And it would also amount to ceding authority a la carte. Because that's what it is. And I'll give a practical example. As Minister of Mines, what the Nigerian Mining and Minerals Act says, which is backed up by what the Nigerian Constitution says, is that minerals are the exclusive preserve of the federal government. But land that you have to access in order to get to the mineral resources is the exclusive preserve of the state governor. So, if you want to come to Ekiti to access gold in my land, it's within my powers as the federal minister to give you the license without consulting the governor. The only thing that connects me to the state is the consent of the owner of the land, which is usually the community, not even the governor now. And I can bypass the governor, go to that owner, give that owner enough incentives, get the consent document, take it to Abuja, completely boycotting the state government. And the only time the state government will know that I exist is when I bring my machines and I am expropriating the land for those mineral resources. I consider that problematic. But I cannot change the law of Nigeria. So what I did when I was minister was to look at the best administrative way to ensure that states participate. So I set up a national council for natural resource management in which state governors and the minister have a regular meeting to deliberate on broad principles of managing these resources. 2, I encourage states to set up their own special purpose vehicles so that technically speaking, they are not mining, but their limited liability company can mine. That's a purely personal decision because of my own commitment to issues of restructuring. But another minister may not necessarily do that. And that's the point I was making. So if you ask, why didn't I resign? I was still able to do something along the lines of what I believed in without necessarily changing the constitution of Nigeria. And that is also what happens in states. State governors, whether we set up a Motekun or we set up a Bubeagu or we set up whatever, we find a way around managing security, protecting our citizens without necessarily flouting the constitutional provision of the country. Thank you.
The next, do you want to ask, sir, your specific question now? Locally? All right. Where's the microphone now? He wants to ask a local government specific. Can you pick it up from the back? Okay, you can. That's it.
Yes, Your Excellency. Good to see you here.
I hope it's not going to be about judicial autonomy.
It is, though. No, it's good to see you here because we often not been inside. And I'm happy at the answer you gave. So we, being outside, mightn't see the problems. So it's good that you are here. But it's also good that you also hear our own, because it will make you work better. I'm intrigued at why the governors haven't implemented this financial autonomy. Because as you know, my brother, who is your Attorney General, I went to court in Abuja and Ekiti, but you were not the governor then, though. And we got decisions that the judiciary will be funded independent of the executive. So I'm a bit concerned that the discussions with Labour, the governors, isn't going as well as it should, because I would have thought it was rocket science. But I think maybe it may be to do with lack of money, I don't know. But clearly, those judgments are there. And if they're implemented, they resolve the problem. So I don't know what your views are.
Okay, thank you. I mean, you've been a passionate advocate of this, and without question, it's the right way to go. Let me say upfront that if governors are opposed to judicial and legislative autonomy, my brother, you know it would not even pass. It will not get to that fourth alteration of the Constitution. It is precisely because governors are not opposed that they allowed it, quote and unquote, to receive the blessing at the State House of Assembly in order for that to gather 26 out of 36 states that supported judicial and legislative autonomy. I'm sure you also know that the same did not happen to local government autonomy, and only 10 states assembly voted for that. So it was dead on arrival as a result. So the first point to make is that governors are not opposed to judicial and legislative autonomy. Governors are concerned about the modalities for implementation of judicial and legislative autonomy. And we held series of meetings with the parties in question, representatives of the judiciary and representatives of the Speakers' Conference. So the principle itself established, we all agreed. How do we do it? Should it be a percentage of the consolidated revenue fund, or should it be a minimum irreducible amount that states commit to? That's the sticky point. That's the sticky point that has created this delay that you're seeing. And what then complicated it was the minute Executive Order 10 came on the scene. Governors were up in arms against Executive Order 10 because it contained what I'm sure you as a lawyer too would be very uncomfortable about in terms of the relationship between federal government and the states. Because if any law says that even in flagrant violation of Section 162 of the Constitution says that you can just go as an Attorney General into state accounts and remove money, that's not going to, it's a dangerous precedent, and it's actually a violation of the Constitution. And that's why we made the plea to the President that, look, let's do this thing. In principle, we're committed to it. Let's work out the modalities without the overbearing executive order that has come to fall. And the President graciously agreed that we do that, and we've held a series of meetings. We have agreed pretty much what you're saying. However, I think a realization then came into the scene that, look, if we do it the way it's been agreed, sometimes once the revenue of the state drops and you use a percentage, you may get months where the judiciary or the legislation may not even get anything. And that's where the principle of irreducible minimum came into the picture. And we've agreed with all parties. That is why, frankly, I don't know why Judicial is still on strike, because the representatives of the two parties must have also communicated to them, just as we have communicated to the Minister of Labor and Employment, that we have no issue and the principles have been established and we have agreed, and the Solicitor General of the Federation, who is working on it with the various parties, is fully seized of the position that we hold. So we're not opposed to that.
All right, let me just ask you this. You've been a minister, you've been a state governor. You are a state governor. So I'll ask this. What do you think are the three biggest challenges the country faces now in order to get to where it's supposed to be? And how do you think we can solve them?
First, I think a laid-back citizenry. That's my first challenge. I think you need a citizenry that would consistently and irreverently hold the feet of those in office to fire. How?
Wait.
Well, I am speaking from some experience. My guy is here, Olisa Agbakoba. We were on the trenches together. I was on the barricades. I didn't just jump to the other side to become governor. And I still don't consider myself a member of that elite cartel. Whatever I'm doing now is a product of what I did as an activist and as a fighter for rights in this country. Sir? You confirm? Thank you very much, sir. So, we, against all the risks, and he went to jail several times. I was declared persona non grata for running an underground radio. And many people did stuff, even though it was a military government. And we challenged it. We're now talking of democracy. First, the space is liberalized. And it's much more liberalized than it was when we were fighting the military. And I'm not talking about Twitter revolution here, please. I know that many people, particularly our young ones, they're cozy, giving it to governor and attacking ministers on Twitter and Facebook. Big deal. Go to the wards.
That's it.
Go to the communities.
That's it.
Go and challenge what they're doing there. Hold them accountable. You never know. It's either you are so effective that you are co-opted. you manage to get your point across and win the support of the people, and they insist that you come and represent them. Because you see, if we don't do that, we will not have a critical mass of those who are really committed to societal transformation. You have a few tokens who mean well. And many people mean well in government, frankly. You may not believe it, but many people mean well. But meaning well is not enough. It doesn't change anything. You need to have a critical mass, and we need to develop a compact civil society, political society, rather than drawing false dichotomy between civil society and political society. We need to find a way of ensuring that they work together in order to build a better society. So we need much more inclusive politics, pretty much, is what I'm saying. So that's one. The awareness level of the citizens. The second is the civil service. The civil service is the engine room of government. People focus too much on politicians, particularly at the federal level. I urge you, focus on what is happening to the civil service. And if we can transform the civil service and replicate the Adebo years and the Asiodu years and bring those committed professionals back to the civil service, then they're in a position to really assist those in politics who may not have the necessary expertise to deliver on the goods that they have promised the people. And the third is really us and our capacity to deliver on the goods. And that is a much more complex one, because capacity depends on ensuring that the people who even get to public office themselves are prepared, are knowledgeable, and are ready to learn in order to make that difference. We don't always get the best 11 in public service. But then that's not unique to us. We are all living witnesses to what just the disaster that was just averted in the United States. And that person got in on account of populist demagoguery. You have it in Nigeria too. So there has to be an intimidating mechanism that allows really good people. And the church is central to this. I was in Kaduna last week to give a talk at graduation ceremony of a seminary. And I was saying to them that the church has a role to play in encouraging people of faith to become active in politics. Not run away from politics. And, I mean, you have a captive audience, sir. This is why I applaud you for what you do with platform, year on, year out. However, it needs to be taken to the next level, which is active involvement. That way, we can improve the capacity. It's not going to happen overnight, but we'll have more people who are committed to public good, not just charlatans that cannot think beyond self, running for public office. I'm sure the next question I'm going to be asked by people is, where am I going to get the money? We hear it costs a lot of money to run for public office. Not all the time, but it can cost a lot of money. But if it is an organized pressure that is propelling you, you will not necessarily have to spend as much as it would ordinarily cost for just a rent-seeking opportunity. So, for me, if we can tackle those three, the citizenry, the civil service, and the capacity of the political elite to deliver the goods. Not just their intention. Intention is great. At least for many people in the political arena, they have good intentions. They're genuine. They want to make a difference. They often don't know how. They've won an election and then they're scampering around. So, what am I going to do now? How do I deliver on the promises I've made to the people? And then they get to the middle of the road, they get overwhelmed, and then they just throw it aside and say, okay. And there are always vultures in the political arena. All those people with your excellency, you are the very best to the world. The one who nobody can challenge. The superficial honorifics that push your heads up and make you look as if you are the best thing that has ever happened since sliced bread. They are always permanently around corridors of power. They are there all the time. And if you get carried away, then you're done for.
All right. I forgot. I just want to mention, because he did say that, and please, if you could, told me if you could send it into my phone now, if I don't have it now. We're actually to announce at the end of my speech that we are starting a platform institute for governance and politics.
Good.
All right?
Thank you.
So what's going to happen is that we're going to run 4 models. It's already sorted out this year. But when we get to next year, then we're going to be running 3-month courses. So if you can send it in at the end, I'm going to announce the dates and the things, financing, how to build a campaign and practical stuff and it will be world class. Okay? All right. So when you mentioned it, I said I should announce that. All right. Now, the tech people sent in some questions, and when we talk about devolution of powers, they are appropriating it into the digital ecosystem. Is expected to be a key driver of economic growth across the world. From a devolution of power perspective, what do we need to do to ensure states and local governments have digital incubation centers and the talent to drive the emerging economy?
Okay. Now we're moving in the realm of ICT and the implications of that for governance. I think it's good that the social media has become an arena for engagement and raising awareness generally. But I also think one of the ways in which we can best demystify power and hand it over to the ordinary citizens is to use technology, particularly digital technology. And it's beginning to happen gradually. We have issues always with things like population census and so on and so forth in our country because they're driven more by politics than by fact. But in many states now, we're driving accountability that way. First, by ensuring that even the payroll, let's just take payroll, is digitized, and you have an integrated payroll system that links your biometrics to your BVN and helps us to eliminate ghost workers. That's something that technology has enabled in many states, which never used to be the same. And the same day you pay a local government worker, the state civil servant can also get his pay that same day and get their alert. You can also, health records, education records, land GIS, these are all areas that these issues are being advanced pretty much in line with the suggestion from the techpreneurs that sent the question. But I think we need to do more of that. There are implications, of course, in that you may need fewer people working in the system. when you advance the use of technology. But you can then redirect the energy into other things, like agriculture, rather than being in the civil service or local government work. But I think that is the way to go. We're setting up a tech city in Ekiti, partly because apart from agriculture, the only other thing we're known for is education. And we feel we can really promote wealth creation via education because we have a highly literate population, and yet we still have an uncomfortable level of unemployment, even amongst that highly literate population. So there has to be a way to use technology to divert them into jobs that they can do without necessarily leaving Ekiti and earn enough to make them comfortable in our environment. And technology offers that. BPO related activities offers us that opportunity. And a number of states are doing this.
All right, because you have an appointment. So let me ask you, you are part of the, well, how would I put it? Part of the insider think tank that brought this government to power. Okay? And
insider.
Well, you are part of them. We know what we are saying. So what I want to ask is, people voted in the APC with certain expectations. In other words, they said change, and they had certain expectations. Do you think, if you are going to score, in all honesty, if you are going to score this government over 10, what would you give this government that you are an integral part of?
Pastor Kwaju, I know you to be a fair-minded person, and I have the learned senior advocate here. And the first law is that you cannot be judge and jury in your own case.
All right, wait, hold it. I will answer you back, because you are coming from the Anglican communion where you spoke to them as a Christian. When God created the earth, he judged it and said it's good. So you should be able to judge and evaluate what you are doing.
Okay, you're a pastor. I take it, sir. Well, if by insider you mean that I was involved, yes. I was director of policy and research for APC in our presidential campaign in 2015, not in 2019. The original one. By 2019, I was in Ekiti. I was just a foot soldier in the campaign then. But in 2015, it was clear that, yes, we promised many things. But with the greatest respect, I think the most attractive promise that I believe people bought into, more than other promises that we made, was integrity.
Let me say this. I honestly believe, and one of your prominent leaders said this on campaign. He said, when countries ran into trouble, and he did quote nations, they turned to a general. Now, the country believed that there was a security problem.
Yeah, I'm coming to that.
Okay, all right.
I'm coming to all that.
Okay.
It was because you majority believed in the integrity of the general to deliver on those issues that they were most agitated about.
Yeah.
Security, economy, anti-corruption, all encapsulated in the change agenda. You could argue that we've put in a lot of effort in those areas, but have they been productive? Have they really earned the kudos of the citizens as they should? No, they haven't, because we still have insecurity in the land. We have insecurity proliferating. Not necessarily the one that was most critical. The insurgency was the most disconcerting aspect of our insecurity situation. And many may disagree. I would argue that at least on insurgency, it may be a distinction without a difference.
Okay.
We've witnessed a decline. Well,
No,
that's
but
why I said you may disagree. Can I finish?
All right, let him finish.
Let me finish. I mean, we can have a conversation about this. I'm saying that specifically in relation to the problem of insurgency, which was the most prominent in 2015 when we were coming in. Remember, UN house bombing, the churches that were being bombed. Abuja was a no-go area. Most parts of the northeast were a no-go area. But we weren't experiencing that kind of problems in the southwest, for example, then. That problem at least witnessed a decline in the first 3-4 years of the Buhari administration. It has resurfaced. And I can explain, without justifying government's role in this, why that has happened. Beyond the challenges of capacity and the asymmetrical war that we were fighting in the Northeast at the time. You now added to it the problems we have in the neighboring countries, particularly all the countries bordering that axis, Mali, Cameroon, Chad. That has even become much more exacerbated with the assassination of Idris Deby. Proliferation of small arms and light weapons are coming in droves. Yes, that is state capacity challenge. Why can't we police our borders in such a manner that these extraneous activities will not come into the country? Yes, we can argue that, but I'm saying that we've witnessed a decline in that. But that decline in insurgency might have created a situation in which banditry that has been operating on its own in the Northwest may now have connected to elements in the Northeast to exacerbate the security situation in that entire axis, Northwest, Northeast, and now coming down to the South. Also exacerbated by issues of climate change and drought and search for water by the herders. All of these issues are without prejudice to what anyone might think. What I'm saying is that we can do a lot better than we have done, and I think everyone within our party acknowledges that. Even the president has said that himself, that we need to do more in order to secure the country and in order to earn the trust and confidence of our citizens. Because everybody is living in fear. Everybody is concerned about the security situation in the country. But it's not a bean counting exercise. It's much more fundamental than that. And I don't know anyone in APC who is committed to public good who is not worried about the situation we have found ourselves in. So when I say that we've made progress in some areas, and some of those progress has resulted also in problems in other areas, as we are resolving one problem, another problem comes up, then that's what speaks to returning to that fundamental issue of the topic we're dealing with, restructuring and devolution. Nigeria is too big to fail, but Nigeria cannot be managed unitarily. Nigeria has to be restructured in such a manner that more responsibilities, more revenue, and more accountability must issue from the subnational lower levels. And you cannot resolve this problem without tackling that. But in the short term, what Nigerians want to see is a stop to this insecurity. So that is what we need to tackle. Put the weapons together, the use of technology, increase personnel. We need to make sure that we stop this and go after these evil merchants and take them out. That is what has to happen in the immediate, because that's the only thing that interests Nigerians. They just want a solution to this problem. Whatever is responsible for it, you can tackle that later, solve it. But you can do that in the short term. However, you have to deal with the longer term reasons for this. Tough on crime and criminality, good. But you must be tough also on the root causes. We have a population, Pastor, that is 70% under 30. The median age in our country is 17 years. And it is clear that when you have a large population of unemployed people, particularly young people, in urban ghettos, they're clearly a predictor of conflict and criminality. So even if you solve the problem of militarism and violence in the short term, you then need to do something that would engage the energy of those younger elements in order to avert a relapse or a return to crisis. So you need to do that. We need to deal with the drug issue in this country. The drug abuse is huge. I mean, the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime recently came up with a report on this. We are becoming the transshipment country for cocaine and heroin. 2018, I can't remember the name of the lady who did the BBC documentary on the use of tramadol, Agboroko Meya or something. The rate at which young people abuse substance. So all of these have to come together. We need to devise longer-term strategies that would address the root causes of what we're dealing with, even as we focus on a military kinetic solution right now.
All right, I've got to let you go, but I made up my mind I was going to ask you this last question, and it has to do with the NSAS. And you did allude to the fact that, from what you said, you must have had some, at least, sympathy to the, I mean, some people may have hijacked it and other agendas came into it. But there were young citizens in this country who genuinely, all right, I mean, even in my own office, I almost lost control of my office as the agitation. Now, Pastor, I'm telling you, Pastor, we know.
Just your office?
No, but
you didn't lose it at home, your children?
but the agitation that was genuine. Okay, so I want to ask. I mean, they feel that the government didn't listen to them, the government didn't hear them. They also feel that probably they used some, the government, you know, I mean, there were young people who may not have understood the sophistication of other intrigues that may have come, but they genuinely wanted change, you know, and therefore the hope that they have now is that the only way is to leave this country. So what will you say to those young people?
Well, far from it for me to discourage anyone who wants to leave this country. Please wait and listen to me. To discourage anyone who wants to live in search of greener pastures, education, healthcare, what have you. And the reason why I say far from it from me, I lived outside this country for 15 years. And I returned. Yes, I went to study and then worked and then came back. So, if you go by that, and this country was pretty bad at that time, it was the military era. But I would say to them that, and by the way, everything that they fought for, the 5 points, absolutely laudable, and on our part, in Ekiti State, and I believe even the federal government, they acknowledged that those issues of police brutality that the young ones raised had to be addressed. And that's what has led to some of the tribunals that have been sitting across the country. But I agree with you that some of them might have been left with a feeling of despondency or frustration if the end goal they were looking for in the process of pushing for that agenda on police brutality, if it goes beyond just dealing with police brutality to regime change. Some might have been frustrated that it never got to regime change, and they never got the result that they wanted out of that. But even if your search is for regime change in a democracy, there's only one way for regime change in a democracy. You walk towards it, another election is going to come. If you don't like what APC is doing, organize. Stop agonizing. Organize against the party. Link up with others who are organizing. And then kick the boss of APC out of office. And put people that you think would do better. Not create a situation of anarchy. Because those who hijack the good intention of the leadership of NSAS, that's what they were about. They wanted to just run the country amok in the process of messing up the really well-intentioned agenda that had been set by those who are behind it. So what I'm saying, in essence, is I would urge, and we have a duty also, of mentorship to younger people, to say to them that sometimes you don't always get what you push for. But that does not necessarily suggest that that is the end of the road. You have a way in which you keep knocking on the door, banging it, and inevitably it will open. How long it opens for, how far you have to wait before it opens, will depend on your capacity to organize, alongside people who also share your vision of transformation. And at the risk of sounding immodest, that's what got some of us into politics. We believe that another Nigeria is possible, a better Nigeria is possible, and we should not stand at the sidelines in pushing for that Nigeria of our dreams. We're not there yet, but that does not mean we'll give up. But organizing is not just political organizing. You can organize in other spheres in society. Because really, leadership is not title, it's not His Excellency, it's not the office. Leadership is influence. Pastor Koju is far more influential than many of us who are in political office. Yes. And that's how you need to see the whole idea of transforming this country. First, don't succumb to despondency. There's a lot to ail in this country. There's a lot to frustrate. There's a lot to make you want to give up. And pick that visa, go to Canada. I know it's a popular destination, Canada. But you know what? There's also a glass ceiling in Canada. When you get to the top of it, you will now discover that there's a glass ceiling in Canada. This is the place where there is no glass ceiling. Let's all work towards making it a better place.
Let's put our hands together for Governor. And one more thing I will ask you. I beg of you, I use all my social capital to ask you for this. From all that has been said today, I will ask, you don't have to answer, you don't have to give me guarantees, but we really want to bring the public to meet with governors and have a governors summit with the public where we can have this kind of interactive session with governors. Maybe we'll take 2 from each geopolitical zone. And as the chairman of Governors Forum, I know you can make it happen.
I promise you, we'll be happy to engage in a civilized debate.
A civilized debate.
Not name-calling, not point
we don't allow.
A civilized debate about the future of Nigeria and how to transform it. I'm sure my colleagues will be willing to do it, and I'll put it up for you. We can have it in Abuja, or have it here.
No, we do it in Abuja. Okay. God bless you, sir. Let's put our hands together. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's put our hands together for
The platform is powered by the Covenant Nation.